All right. This is the 36th. I'm pretty sure it's the 36th. I don't want to check. I think it's the 36th episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. I am your just worn out host, Aaron, and allow me to run my mouth for a little bit. I have had a very active 2 weeks. I've done quite a bit of traveling over the last 2 weeks. It is December 1st as I'm recording this, the first of the month, so grab your checks and come on, as the wise sages, Bone Thugs and Harmony once said. And yeah, it's like right after the Thanksgiving holidays, and I'm worn out. I'm gonna stay in one spot for like a little bit. Thankfully, I will be able to do that, but traveling really takes it out of you. Like, traveling just takes it out of you. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I've traveled a lot this year, but it really does take it out of you. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, but speaking of travels, we'll get to those momentarily. But last episode, I left off talking about how the night that I was recording that, or I guess the afternoon, because I was doing it in the afternoon that I was recording that was going to be the night of the Careful Gayish show that I had booked. And I'm happy to say the show was a success. It was honestly, without a doubt, like a top 5 show for me. Like, legit top 5 show. Like, so much fun. And I said in the episode that I didn't feel like, taking my camera to take pictures. But thankfully, I changed my mind. I took my camera, I took some pictures. And honestly, if you look on my Instagram at Jackson Underground, that's JXN Underground, probably some of the best pictures that I've ever taken. And I'm like not exaggerating. Like, those pictures turned out really well. It also helps that the lighting at Howlin' Mal's, which was the venue that the show was held at, was like really nice. It has like, this nice, even kind of pink lighting that was really nice. And my pictures just turned out amazingly. And, when I have shows that I book, I'm kind of like paranoid the whole night because I'm like, what if people don't show up? Like, what if nobody comes? What if something like bad happens? What if something goes wrong? But with this one, I'm confident that none of those things happened. It was a great night. Like, oh my gosh, I can't say how great of a night it was enough. I guess we'll just kind of run through things, the lineup, I guess. So for that show, I had the Jackson bands Mostly Satire and Smokies to perform and support. And if you'll go back to, I believe this is episode 8, I am just throwing it out there. I actually don't know which episode it was that I talk about seeing Careful Gaze for the first time. So I am going to have to look this up because I do want to be correct. Let me see here. My videos. Gotta scroll back a little bit. Yes, it is episode 8. I was right. If you go back to episode 8, I'll talk about seeing Careful Gaze for the first time and also seeing Smokies for the first time, which, to me, that show, which I don't know if I said this in the last episode, but that show, this one that was last Saturday or the Saturday before last, whenever it was, felt like a very full circle moment for me because, that was the second show ever that I had been to, and the fact that I got to book this one and that it was so, well attended and it seemed like everyone had a lot of fun, and that meant a lot to me. Okay, so first band of the night was Mostly Satire, and they were great. They're pretty much always great. Very hardworking, by the way. In the month of November, I want to say October and November, they have like a bunch of shows, and they're also working on, I don't know if it's a new album or what. I think it is a new album. They're in the studio. They're in the stew with a local engineer here called Brandon Goner. I think I'm saying his name wrong. I'm like pretty confident that I'm saying his name wrong, actually. But he did the well, first of all, he has a YouTube channel called Local and Live Sessions, which has been on hiatus for a little while, but there are some live videos of a lot of Jackson bands performing on there. So check that out. I think it's really cool. But also he's like I guess you can call him an audio engineer. I don't really know what the terminology is, but he made Measureless Aeon's demo. He's made a lot of music. He's done a lot of the recording slash audio engineering slash whatever you want to call it, because I really don't know what to call it, for a lot of Jackson bands around here. And he's not from here. From what I can tell, he's from Arizona, I think. Honestly, I have to kind of interview him because he's been doing so much for like the music community here. I feel like he deserves his own like profile. But he's an out of towner. He's a transplant. And he came back, I want to say like a year ago. By the way, this is all stuff that I've just gleaned from his social media, so I haven't actually talked to the guy. But from what I could tell, he's from he's an out of towner, and he's doing a lot for the Jackson music community. Honestly, I think that's great. But yeah, all that to say, Mostly Satire. They've been in the studio. Also very hardworking. Also, some great kids. Very great. They're probably not that much younger than me, and I'm calling them kids, but they have young vibes. What? Okay, anyways, they went on first. Pretty great. Up next in the middle. So for this show, I didn't really have much of I was kind of the organizer of it, but Hal & Mouse has their own like dedicated person for that, and he handles a lot of it. His name is Alex. Shout out to Alex, but he kind of honestly took the reins for the show, so I didn't really have anything to worry about, so I don't even know why I was worried. But anyways, he set the, I was gonna say track list, that's not it, not the set list, the set order for the night, and he had Careful Gaze go second. I almost missed them. Well, okay, I didn't almost miss them. I was there. I almost missed like the first song of their set because I was like sitting down and I was like, I wasn't that tired, but I was like, I don't want to be standing up for nothing. So I was sitting down. I had to scramble to find my earplugs because they didn't even really like announce or anything like that. There's no like I don't know what you call it, sound check, because they probably did all of that beforehand. And so they opened up right away with my favorite song of theirs called Teach, and I had to like scramble up there, had to get my earplugs in my ears, because first of all, really loud. Also, one thing I gotta say is that the audio setup at Hal & Mouse is pretty decent. I will say, compared to some of the other venues that we have in town that I book at, they are more of like a proper venue. I don't want to call the other venues like improper, but I will say the other venues that we have are definitely very DIY, and Hal & Mouse is more of a music venue with music venue things. I don't really know how to describe it. So I will say it sounded great in there. And this will kind of go into what I will have to talk about a little bit later with the show that I went to in Atlanta. But no, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. Even if you don't have like a sophisticated setup at your place that you are having shows at, I will say this. Miking the drums matters, okay? And listen, I get it. This isn't super feasible for like, especially like DIY venues, and like smaller operations. But I will say, it definitely makes a difference. Being able to hear the drums makes a difference. Being able to like actually differentiate them from the other instruments that are connected to amps and stuff, that makes a difference. So I will say, this is probably, I don't know how, I think this is probably going to be up to the bands for a lot of the venues that we have here in Jackson, but I will say, look into it. You don't have to do it, obviously. This is very up to you, but I will say, as a live music enjoyer, miking the drums makes a difference. And there are people in the community that do that kind of thing. For example, Brian, the drummer in Measureless Aeons, he's the one that does a lot of their like sound stuff and also like some of their light setups and stuff like that when they perform. And I don't know, there's probably other people who know a lot about it, but miking the drums makes a difference. I don't know how many times I can say that. Like, it really does make a difference. Anywho, they do that at Hal & Mouse, and it made a difference. It made a difference, and it made a very good difference. So, what was I saying? Oh, they Careful Gaze launched right into their set with my favorite song, Teach, which I didn't. I wanted to get like the entire song because when they came here the first time, I only got like part of the song on video, but I was still able to get most of it, most-ish of it. So that made me really happy, and I will say they put on a pretty great show, especially considering the circumstances, because if you remember last time, I said that they almost didn't make it here. Man, I'm thirsty. Hold on, drink break. They almost didn't make it here because their van that they were using to tour in broke down like in the middle of Texas, and they managed to get it fixed by a random guy in a parking lot in like I don't know exactly where it was, but the story goes that they managed to get their van fixed by a random guy in a parking lot, and so they made it here to Jackson, which this was one of the last stops on their tour. I think they had maybe 2 or 3 other stops to make. And so, considering the circumstances, it's probably not fun to have your van, your means of transportation, your only means of transportation, kind of break down in an unfamiliar place. And, all that considered, they put on a great show. Something else that was really interesting, I was talking to the singer for Careful Gaze. Their name is Gabe. And they were telling me that the first time that they were here, when I had seen them, I remember this interaction because it kind of stuck out to me. I mean, not really. I mean, it did stick out to me, but as I was buying the first shirt that I have, it's in a drawer or in my laundry hamper or something like that. I'm not going to go get it. But when I was buying my first shirt at that show, I told them like, hey, you guys did a really great job. I really enjoyed like, that kind of thing that you tell someone after they perform. And Gabe looked at me and like very sincerely said like, thank you. And I was like, oh, well, like, compliments are nice. But I later find out that the reason for that, and I was none the wiser. I don't think anybody else was any of the wiser. Also, I don't know. I mean, I think telling this story was probably going to be fine. I don't know. I can be corrected. But essentially, the guitarist, they only have one, the guitarist in Careful Gaze is diabetic, and at the time they didn't have one of those like continuous monitors that like goes on your arm. They had to do like the test strips. And so apparently they were like hypoglycemic the entire time. Like the entire show. They were just actively like dying, which is crazy. And like immediately after that show that first time last year, they had to like rush him to the hospital because he was like hypoglycemic. And apparently, I guess according to them, again, I didn't really remember this. I thought it was like a fine show. I thought it was a good show even. Like they were playing the worst they ever had because homie was like literally knocking on death's door. And I guess that's why Gabe was so sincere in telling me thank you that one time because, things were going very wrong that time. So yeah, that was that. And after Careful Gaze, there were Smokies. And let me tell you something. I've said this many times. I've said this pretty much every time I've seen them. I'm pretty sure I said this the first time that I saw them, which was at that show last year, on episode 8 of this here pod. But Smokies is gonna make it big, like real soon. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I think it is gonna happen, and I think it's gonna happen pretty soon. Like, it was so crazy seeing them. Like, I like Smokies, but I would say their music is not, I don't want to say I'm not super into it, but it's just not my cup of tea. It's more sort of in the indie realm. I always love seeing them perform. I always have fun when I see them perform, and it's mostly because of the crowd reaction as well, but they legitimately put on a good show. Their stuff is just, it's not my cup of tea. I think I can say that. But I still like it, And so it was so crazy because normally I don't really have this issue at shows, like local shows, I should say that, at local shows. Like, being able to to see, to like be at the front, especially when I have my camera. Like people will let me, for the most part, people will let me like come to the front and like be able to take pictures. But when Smokies was on, I had to like shoulder my way, and I'm not super proud of this because like that's not it's not a great experience for the person who is getting shouldered, but I had to like shoulder my way to the front to like be able to take pictures. Like the girlies were serious, they were serious about standing next to that stage, and it's like honestly dope, like a vibe, because they have some legit fans here. Like Smokies has some like real deal, like hardcore fans here, which is so crazy. I mean, it's not crazy because if you've ever seen Smokies perform, then you'll know exactly why. But like, people were going wild, wacky, crazy, and insane. Like Smokies music, in my opinion, as someone who is more into the metal sphere and perhaps dipping her toes into hardcore. Smokey's music does not strike me as something that you can mosh or crowd surf to, but people were doing it. People were doing it. I have the pictures to prove it. I didn't post all of them. In fact, I don't think I posted like most of my crowd pictures from that show, but it was crazy. It was like actually crazy. And like they are legitimately like roof raisers, and it's so amazing. And honestly, it was good that they went on last because I have a feeling, and like I have seen this happen before, and it is really unfortunate when it does happen. So as someone who does sometimes book things now, this is something that I'm gonna have to keep in mind. But sometimes, and this is never something that I would do because first of all, I'm spending my hard-earned money to see a show. I'm gonna see all of the show, okay? But also like leaving after a band performs, I don't know. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Is it weird? Maybe not weird. Let's say rude. Is it rude to leave a show after the band you came there to see performs and like not staying for the out of town band? Because I have seen that happen like once, And to me, it does feel maybe a little bit rude. I would never do such a thing. If I'm leaving a show, that means the show is over, or I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I can't stay anymore. I like have to go. Like I've left a show from being excessively tired like once, and I wasn't happy about it. I wanted to stay for the whole thing because again, I'm spending my hard-earned money to see these 3 or 4 bands that are performing. I'm gonna stay to see them all, And honestly, it does boggle my mind a little bit when people leave after a certain band is like over, because it's like, again, you're paying money to see all the bands on this bill. Like, worst case scenario, I don't know, you're mildly bored. I don't know. I've never been bored at a show, like straight up. Well, that's not 100%. Okay, so I never been bored at a local show, but I will say when I went to see Bad Omens, which technically, ooh, I'll just pop that pad. Technically, I was there to see the opening bands, which were Era and Event Animate, but I was still gonna stick around to see Bad Omens because I'm spending my hard-earned money. I traveled out of town. I went to Memphis for this. I'm paying for a hotel. I'm gonna get my money's worth for this experience. But I did zone out a little bit through Bad Omen's set, which that's not really their fault, like at all. I mean, the girlies were engaged. I just wasn't, and I was just like a little bit tired during that show as well. So I like went out and like sat outside for like a couple songs, and then I came back in and it was like fine. But I will say it has never struck me to like leave a show because I'm not into the band or musician that's performing at that time. Like again, I've never been to a music festival, so of course I think that would be a little bit different, but music festivals, it's a long day with like a really long lineup. You got to take a break at some point. And if you're at a music festival that's like multiple stages, I guess, then that's probably gonna make things different. But these aren't music festivals that I'm talking about. These are regular shows that go from like, I don't know, 6 to 10 o'clock, 6 to 11 o'clock, something like that. And it's like, aside from, extenuating circumstances where I have to leave for some reason, like, I'm just not gonna bounce after a band that I like is done. I want to see what else the other bands have to offer. I like the discovery of it all. I mean, some of the, bands around here that I like a lot, I kind of went and saw them on a lark. I didn't know if I was going to like them or not, and I did. And so, that was only a net positive for me. But, like, I don't know. It's, yeah, that. So I can see why. Oh, I dropped my recorder. I could see why, Alex put Smokies last, because if he didn't, then the girlies were going to leave, which feels weird to me. It does feel weird to me. Other people might be of a different opinion, but to me it feels weird. So, I'm glad that was a strategic choice, I guess, to put them last so that people will actually stick around. But, if you do that, if you are the kind of person to do that, I just want to know why. I'm curious to know why. Tell me your opinions. Call in. We're standing by. Like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if there is a situation where if there's other stuff going on during the night that you want to go to, maybe you just want to pop in for like a second to see one band. But for me, the show is the thing that's going on for the night. So it's like, I don't know. I don't have as robust of a nightlife, experience as some people. So for me, that is the main event, but for some people it might not be. I don't know. This is why I'm asking for opinions, because I want to know what other people think. But anyways, all that to say, very successful show, very successful night. As I was talking to Gabe, as I was, hovering at the merch table, they were telling me that, this show that they had here in Jackson was like their most successful of the run. And I don't know if that still stands, because like I said, there's a couple other, stops after this one, but that made me feel great, honestly, to say that, this stop in a band's tour was like the best of their tour. And like, I don't want to take full credit for it, obviously, because I didn't even really put it together. I mean, that was, the logistical things of it, that was mostly Alex's doing. So I feel like he deserves some, credit in that as well. But I don't know, that felt great to me. And also, if you can't tell, I am wearing a new shirt. You can mostly see it. They didn't have any like normal sizes left. So this is a 2XL. I am absolutely swimming in this garment. But Gabe also gave me a hat for free, which I'm not really a hat girly or a beanie girly, but honestly, really dope. I don't have any of these things with me aside from this shirt, because they're in their appropriate places. But I also got chapstick, which is so crazy, which honestly, I think I might have to get that. No, I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm not getting up. I don't feel like getting up, but I love unconventional merch. I got a fridge magnet from Cora from when they were here like last month. That's pretty dope. The chapstick, also pretty dope. I don't really know what other kinds of unconventional merch there is, aside from that, which I guess it makes sense. There's a lot of like companies that make promotional materials and print their logo on basically whatever. Die with Nature sells hot sauce. I don't know if it's like Die with Nature branded hot sauce, or if it's just like the guy who grows it sells it. Like, I don't know. I haven't actually looked into it, unfortunately. What's some other? Oh, you know what? I think the band Mall, they're from North Dakota. I think they're from Fargo or North Dakota. And I think one of their guitarists made like earrings, but they weren't like Mall branded earrings. They were just like earrings. What else? I think at one show I had seen a crocheted butt plug, but I don't know if that was for sale. That might have been decoration, and I can't even remember who had it. I want to say it was Horror Party, who was from the coast, but I legit don't know. Well, I mean, this isn't really unconventional because this was just his book, but oh my gosh, Micah Schnabel, who came the day after the election, was selling books and like poetry zines, but that's not even really that unconventional for me. I don't know. I love unconventional merch. That's it. That's all I can say. So that show was really fun. Honestly, I was buzzing from that for like the next day, and it was great. So that was that show. Pretty amazing. So after that show, went the whole week working, slaving, toiling in the fields of my cubicle. And on Friday, I got on a plane. I got flued out. I did get flued out. Let me tell you something. If you've never been to Jackson's airport, it's certainly something. It's a very petite airport. Like it's so small and so cute. Um, and yeah, went to the airport. The shortest TSA line of my entire life. It was great. I was the only person in line. Like I got, when you walk in and you get past all the places where you're supposed to check in your luggage at like certain airlines, and then you go to the TSA line. And at first I thought I was at the wrong place because there was nobody there. But I get up there and like, the TSA people are there, and like I was the only one in the line. It was so great. I've been to a few airports. I mean, the main one that I fly out of, if I am flying out of somewhere, is Birmingham. And it is a decently sized airport, but, there's pretty much always a line for TSA at any airport I've been at. I think Chicago O'Hare, that was like the worst one. I mean, it wasn't that bad because like the line was moving, but it was really long. But Jackson Municipal Airport, there's no line at TSA. Although I will say, it was like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Friday before Thanksgiving. So I don't know. It's definitely not peak hours, but such a tiny airport. It was so cute. Anyways, flew to Atlanta, which, by the way, I've heard this from like one person. One of my coworkers playfully ribbed me about it. But like, I don't want to drive to Atlanta. I don't want to drive in Atlanta. So yeah, I'm going to take a plane. I had the money to buy the ticket, and so I bought it. And that was that. That was really it. So yeah, flew to Atlanta. And I had to fly on Friday instead of Saturday when the actual, the Animals Leaders show was going to be. Because I initially bought my ticket for Saturday morning. It was going to be like Saturday at 9 a.m. And that would have given me enough time to get to Atlanta, essentially. I think it was a nonstop flight for that one. Or if not, maybe I had like one layover. But it wasn't going to, take very long. But one day, because I bought the ticket like way long ago, like months ago, like so many months ago. Basically, when they announced this tour is when I bought the ticket. And I got an email one day being like, hey, this is from Southwest, being like, hey, we changed your flight. And I had seen that they changed my flight from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. And I was like, this is insane. Like, I can't not go. I'm still gonna go. But like, this isn't enough time. Like, what if my flight gets delayed? And I was like, you know what? Press pause. I'm just gonna have to fly in the day before. And thankfully, Southwest has a thing where you can like change your flight. I want to say like 2 times or something like that for free. So I changed my flight to the previous day for free. Didn't have to pay anything extra. I don't think, anyways. I don't remember paying anything extra. Again, this was like some months ago. And so, I was like, whatever, I'll just change my flight, change my hotel. I will have to pay a little bit extra for the hotel, but that's like whatever. And I'm just going to have to spend a day in Atlanta, just like not doing anything. But some weeks ago from now, I was tippy-tapping on my Instagram stories, as I am wont to do. And I had seen that a band that had come to Jackson, it had to be like mid-October or something like that, named Cora, who's from Memphis, that I greatly enjoyed when they were here, that they were going to be in Atlanta the night that I was going to be there as well. So I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I can get to see a local show in a different place. Because up until that day, I had never been to, like a small, local show anywhere other than Jackson. And I guess technically Vicksburg, I mean, I guess that was a local show. I mean, it was a local show. So I guess outside of Jackson and Vicksburg, I haven't been to any local shows. So I was like, cool, let me see how they do it in Atlanta because they have a pretty decent DIY community there of like, kind of hardcore metal, etc. music. So I was like, let me check it out. And so the show that I went to, I'm gonna try to remember the lineup. It was, I'm not gonna remember the lineup. And I'm also not gonna find the post, so never mind. I mean, I probably could find the post. Well, anyways, the lineup was Cora from Memphis, who I really wanted to see. Another Memphis band called Jadewick, who's really good, that I also would like to see again. Potentially here in Jackson, who knows? Maybe I'll have to make some, not phone calls, because nobody's calling anybody on the phone anymore, but, the Instagram equivalent of a phone call, which is a DM. Make some moves happen. Because, 2025 is pretty much wide open for me. I don't know if I want to book like as far as December because who knows what's going to happen, 12 months from now. I probably just like keep it to spring if I were to do any bookings anytime soon. And then there was another band that I really, really liked from Atlanta called Pope Eyes. They were greatly enjoyable. And it hasn't even been that long. I don't want to say I've like forgotten things about the show because I haven't. It's just I can't really expand upon much. Well, okay. I'll continue with the lineup and then we'll continue on. There's this other band called, I just listed 3. There's 4. There's 4 on the lineup. I am going to have to find the post. I'm sorry. I just can't remember things. And I didn't really write it down. So I'm just going to look it up. Oh, Clot. There's a band called Clot, which just, Clot is just an icky word. People like to pretend they hate the word moist. Clot, I think, is like several orders of magnitude worse than the word moist, in my opinion. Feel free to, disagree with me. But they're also from Atlanta. Also really good, like, I gotta poach, well, okay, it's not really poaching, because it's not like I'm relocating them, but I need them to come to Jackson, basically. And, like, I do hold the power now. I could just be like, hey, come to town, ? Thanks. But, that takes effort in not being shy at my big age of 25 years. So, it's probably going to be a bit before that happens. And also, it's the holiday season. People, well, I don't know what people are thinking about. Anyway, so yes, it was Clot, Jadewick, Pope Eyes, and Cora, of course, who I've seen before. And it was at this place called the Atlanta Underground, which I'm not really sure what this area is. I'm not from Atlanta. I have been to Atlanta before, but it was when I was like a child, so it's been a very long time. But it's in the Atlanta Underground. There's like a row of like art galleries, and I think at least 2, maybe more, of these art galleries double as like music venues because as I was leaving, I think there's like a rave or something going on. Maybe. I feel like I saw a lot of goths, so maybe it was like a goth rave going on in one of the other art galleries. But the one that I was at was called Mom Said It's Fine, and it is an art gallery. There's like art installations in there. There's also like a stage. And if I had to, well, I mean, I can't really compare it to any venue here because there really isn't anything like it here in Jackson. Like, I mean, we have an art gallery, which, I mean, we have the art museum and that has like venue space, but that's definitely not the same vibe. There probably are like smaller art galleries that I just don't know about because I'm not really plugged into the art world here, the visual art world here anyways. So who knows? There probably is an art gallery somewhere here in Jackson that also doubles as a music event venue. And honestly, it would be cool to have a show there if there is one that exists. And if there is, hit me up, Jackson Underground on Instagram or goodgigs_Jackson on Instagram. I want to know about it. I would like some cool event spaces to hold some unconventional shows. I was sort of talking about this tangent a little bit. I do want to have like some weirdo shows here in Jackson in like the next year, because there was this I don't know if it was like a festival or something, but it was called No Comply, that was in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was basically, the stage was like in the bottom of a bowl in a skate park. And I mean, it looked like there was like 1,000 people there. It was crazy. It was wild. And I saw that and I was like, man, why don't we have anything like that, you know? And there are some areas here that I'm pretty sure, you know, the person who owned the skate park. Actually, I don't know that. I'm not privy to that information, but I'm assuming that the person who owns the skate park was like at least mildly okay with them doing that there. If not, crazy, because there were so many people there. But there's like it's not a under, I guess technically it is an underpass, sort of downtown. That would be a great place to have like a gorilla show. But the only thing about it is that it's in between like two restaurants that, you know, have event venue space. And me, you know, I'm not a square, okay, but I do think about things like noise complaints and permits and security and power and things of that nature. And it's like, you know, if I were to organize such an event underneath this overpass and, you know, something unsafe were to happen, that would fall on me as the event organizer. So it's like, okay, probably not a good idea then, because I think too much about these things. And, you know, Murphy's Law dictates that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So I don't want to open myself up to that, actually. So, you know, in an ideal world where I didn't have to worry about these things, and like, yeah, I would love to have a punk show under an overpass. But as, you know, an adult who knows things about the world, it's like, okay, what if someone calls the cops? Like, what if the business owners are not happy about this going on outside of their business? What if a patron of one of these businesses is like, you know, a boomer and, you know, tries to stir up trouble? Like, I don't want to have these issues. And, you know, we have so many great venues here in Jackson. Like, I could just not. But I don't know, I think it would be cool for the culture, you know? But anyways, back to back to the show. First of all, let me say this. It was so cold that weekend that I was there in Atlanta. Like, hot Atlanta who? It was cold Atlanta. It was cold Atlanta down. And I guess, I don't know, I mean, I think they did have heat at this little art gallery, because I mean, I felt it when I got in, but because it was, you know, warmer than it was outside, but it was still like so cold. Like, my fingers were freezing, and like I was, you know, trying to have fun, but I was also really cold. So it was so cold, and it was just like a concrete room. It was crazy. So yeah, that was, did I say what the name of it was? Yes, I did. Mom said it's fine, in the Atlanta Underground. A very fun venue. I will say, for a small venue, and I'm gonna say it again, their setup, they mic'd up all the drums. And it does make a difference, you know? And again, I don't know how feasible this is for every band or every venue, but you should look into it. That's all I'm saying. Just look into it, see about it. And, you know, as a person, I'm not talking to anyone specifically, but, you know, a hypothetical person in a band who has a band who's maybe in charge of this kind of thing, you've been to presumably more than one show before, I would hope. You know, you've probably seen, you know, shows where the drums were mic'd up and shows where the drums were not. And you know what? I am someone who wears earplugs at every show that I go to, so there is a amount of noise filtering that goes on for me. So maybe if you're just like raw dogging the sound, there literally is no difference, but I still think there is a difference. And also, you should not be doing that. We're not doing that. No. No more raw dogging sound. Like, that's not good, okay? You're just gonna make yourself go deaf or get tinnitus, and both of those experiences are probably really unpleasant. So just get some earplugs. Ask for them for Christmas. Go up to whoever it is that's purchasing your Christmas gifts. Be like, hey, person buying my Christmas gifts. Or I don't know, maybe you're writing a letter to Santa. Ask Santa Claus for some high fidelity earplugs. I'm not even, you could buy Eargasm. Those are pretty good. They last for a really long time. I've had them for, I want to say like 3 years now. And they're great. You just have to clean them every so often, but they're great. They have other brands out there that might be a little bit cheaper, or maybe they're a little bit more expensive. Write a letter to Santa Claus right now. Pause this video. Don't even pause this video or this episode if you're listening to the audio version, which if you're listening to the audio version, I think you already know what I'm going to say, but you're only getting half the story. But don't even pause this. Grab a sheet of paper, the nearest sheet of paper near you. Write down, Dear Santa, comma, next line, for Christmas, comma, I would like some high dash fidelity, FIDELITY, earplugs for when I go to shows, period. That would be really nice, period. Could you please send those to me, question mark? Next line, signed, next line, and your name. And just give that to whoever is in charge of that. And you do not have to, resign yourself to a lifetime of tinnitus and hearing loss. There are options. You don't have to do this. I don't care if you're like, oh, I'm a DIY purist. I get hearing loss. Like, why? That's literally like, why? Why would you do that? Don't you want to be able to do this for like the rest of your life? Then protect your hearing. Do something. Like, it always frustrates me. I've done this rant. I've actually not done this rant, by the way. This is my full-blown rant. I am ranting now. I've seen far too many people, at shows, whether they be locally here in Jackson or like at bigger shows, which that's a whole other conversation, but far too many people are not protecting their hearing when it comes to seeing live music. And listen, if the vibe is like coffee shop acoustic guitar, then maybe you don't need to because it's not loud, okay? But if you are a heavy music enjoyer like myself, you like metal, you like rock, you like hardcore, you like punk, it's gonna be loud. Unless you're standing outside several feet away, it's gonna be loud. So just protect yourself. There's no excuse. Oh, they're too expensive? Steal them. I don't care. Like, do whatever you have to do. Because there's no excuse to be giving yourself hearing loss in the year of our Lord, 2024, about to be 2025. And now I'm done with my rant, okay? I'm done with my rant. Anyways, it was a nice night at Mom Said It's Fine in Atlanta. And then the next day, the main event. My goodness. Animals as Leaders live in concert. The Joy of Motion 10th anniversary tour. Oh man, I can't say enough good things about this. Like, I've been hyping this up for several months, and I'm going to continue to hype this up for several months after, because it was a moment. What can I say? Like, oh my goodness. It was just, I don't know. I'm like so giddy because I just love this band, right? I love this band so much, and being able to see them live once was already like, I was geeked, but being able to see them live twice, I'm further geeked. Like, oh man, like, I had the VIP to see them, and I had the silver upgrade because by the time I was like, ooh, I can buy the VIP, it had already sold out. So, and also some episodes ago, I was like, ooh, I saw that the Annabelle Music here in Jackson had some Animals as Leaders vinyls, and I was going to buy one to take it with me to get it signed, and I'm glad I didn't do that, because I would have been looking bald-headed and confused, because I only had silver. You had to be in gold to get things signed, so like, I'm glad I didn't do that, actually, because I would have been looking bald-headed and confused. Anyways, so with gold, I think we were able to get things signed. You were able to, I think, get like a one-on-one picture. And then of course there was a group Q&A. after all of that, that all of us peons in silver got to be a part of. And so I've never done like the whole VIP experience for a band before, because I guess there's just not really ever been a band that I've wanted to see that's, that I've wanted to do that for. But I will say Animals as Leaders is definitely that band, and I got to do it, and I'm very happy about it. And so I am very happy to say that I was able to ask a question in the Q&A. And the question that I asked them was, as someone, because, I didn't want to be like everyone else and be like, oh, I don't want to make fun of people. Somebody did ask this question, and I can tell it's a question that musicians, especially them, probably get so much. And it's like, answering the same question over and over again is probably like gonna suck. And initially I wasn't really setting out to ask a question, but I thought of one and I asked it because, I didn't want to be like, who is your musical inspiration? When, this is something you can find on Wikipedia. Which, listen, there's nothing inherently wrong with asking a question like that, but these are easily Googleable. But something that's not so easily Googleable, which it probably still is, but for me, I thought it was a nice, interesting question, was, as someone who books shows, what can I do as a booker to improve the experience for a touring band? And what they said, which I don't think this would really apply to any of the venues that we have here, but making sure the venue has a shower, which is crazy. Which, it's not crazy. I'm not really, I don't know. I guess it's something I just kind of never considered, making sure the venue has a shower. None of our venues, I'm just going to put it out there right now, none of our venues have showers. So, oopsie. Whoops. Already failing. But nice venue staff is another one that definitely helps. And I will agree, that does help. And also, just kind of humanizing the experience also helps. I will say that. Basically, really making sure that I impart that Southern hospitality that is ingrained in me as a person from the South. And I feel like, as long as I keep doing that, then I might be doing pretty all right. There's one other thing that they said that really stuck out to me, but I legit can't remember. Oh, maybe I should have written it down. I didn't, though. Oopsie. But that was basically the gist of it, kind of humanizing the experience for a touring band. And some people had some really interesting questions. Like, people asked about AI. We weren't allowed to, take videos of it. I don't think it was supposed to be, like, secret or anything like that. But, asking questions about AI, why they don't really do interviews, which is because, people ask the same questions over and over. However, one thing that I think it was Javier Reyes brought up is that, the interviews that they prefer doing are the ones where it's like basically like actors on actors, which, by the way, I've never seen a single episode of Actors on Actors, but I'm assuming it is actors asking other actors questions about the craft. So I guess like a musicians on musicians, which really, somebody should come up with that. If there isn't anything like that already, we already have Actors on Actors. Musicians on musicians would be really dope if there isn't anything like that already, which I'd be surprised if there isn't something like that. But having musicians interviewing other musicians probably makes for like really good, really insightful interviews. And I don't know, something to consider. Some big media company out there is watching, I don't know, friggin' Pitchfork. What's another big music publication? I don't know, Pitchfork. That's the only one that I know. That's crazy. What are... Kerrang? Is Kerrang even still around? Wait a minute. That was a throwback. Is Kerrang still around? Hold on. Is she still alive? Okay. I think it is still around. Okay, yes. Kerrang is definitely still around. Kerrang. I don't know. I literally can't think of any other ones. But, yeah. Something like that. And so after the Q&A, we all took a group picture And I don't do a lot of editing on this podcast, but I'm going to insert a picture of our group picture because I'm so happy about it. But, you know, the thing that people say when you're about to take a picture, oh, short people to the front. And I'm like, this is my moment. Being 4'11" and a half, don't forget the half, has never benefited me more than it has in this moment. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Why can't I find it? Where's this goddamn picture at? Is it here? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to insert it in the video, but as you can see, I am right front and center. There's everyone in the picture, and right down the middle, the person who's taking this picture was standing on the stage, by the way. And also, can I say, the stage at the masquerade is like so high. Like, it is almost as tall as I am, which is kind of crazy. Which, again, I'm not very tall, as we have made clear, but the stage at the masquerade, which I think this is specifically heaven, it's very tall. But there I am. There's Toast and Bossy. There's Matt Garska. I think that's how you say his name. There's Javier Reyes. And then there's me, baby. There I am. I have never been more happy to spend $60 on something in my life. And honestly, I am so happy. And as you can see in the picture, I am holding something. And this time I actually do have it because I haven't hung it up yet because I'm lazy. But I bought a frame for this. This is the tour poster. I feel like these last 3 episodes have been a lot of me like holding up stuff, but as you can see, it's holographic. It's the tour poster, and it's also kind of warped. I'll get to that later, but this is a tour poster for 10 years of The Joy of Motion, Animals as Leaders, performing the album in its entirety, and then you have the logo here, and then you have all of the dates, and yeah, 11/23, Atlanta, Georgia. Yep, and it's signed. You can't really... Okay, maybe you can see it if I angle it a certain way. That's Toastin's signature. That's Matt's signature. And that's Javier's signature. And everyone got, a signed poster, so I'm not special or whatever. But I just went to Walmart and bought kind of like a cheap black frame for this. And I'm going to try to find somewhere to put this. Probably in my bedroom. Because out here in my living room, there's not really much wall real estate left. I will say I have a lot of like music related trinkets just in my house, which honestly, slay, love it. But yeah, it's a little bit warped because I was kind of struggling with, as I was, holding on to it, I was struggling with like, how am I going to bring this back? Because I came on a plane. I have, the carry-on size suitcase. And I was like, is this going to fit in my suitcase? I'm going to have to roll it up. I didn't really want to roll it up, but am I going to have to roll it up? I mean, I was going to if I had to. I forgot to bring one, but I was going to bring a hair tie so that when I rolled it up, it could stay rolled up. But thankfully I didn't have to do that. This whole thing fit in the bottom of my suitcase. I don't know if you could tell, but it's warped like right here and right here because I put this at the very bottom of my suitcase and I put all my clothes and stuff on top of it, thinking that it would lay flat. But how the suitcase, it's not perfectly flat. I don't have like a hard shell suitcase, which honestly I probably should get one at some point. So it had the rails for the handle on the back, so it got kind of bent over those, and you can kind of see on the top here, but it stayed flat. So mission accomplished, I guess. Not flat enough to not warp, which is kind of what I was trying to avoid. But anyways, as for the show itself, there's one opener, and that was I don't even know if Plenty is like a band or just like a project by like this one guy. I could look this up. For some reason, I haven't looked it up since then. But Plenty, who is another sort of, prog jazz fusion-y type band, we're about to see. Okay, so it technically is... Oh, wait, no, that's just the guy's name. His name is Plenty Rustler Holgate, and he's known mononymously. Interesting. So Plenty's just a guy, but obviously he has touring musicians. He has another guitarist, a bassist, who plays like a I want to say it was like a 7-string bass. It was crazy. I've never seen a 7-string bass before. I know Periphery, they have a 6-string bass, which as far as I'm concerned is just like a 6-string guitar, like tuned way down. Obviously with the appropriate strings and like other things. But 7-string bass, kind of crazy. Also, headless guitar. I don't know what the deal with the headless guitars are, but both guitarists had them. And I'm not gonna lie, they're funky looking. It made both of them look like 7 feet tall because the guitar was just like so tiny. I don't know. I guess the head of the guitar is like a decent amount of its length, but headless guitars are kind of weird looking to me. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, the guy's name is just Plenty, which he's Australian. What an interesting name. See, I don't have the type of name where I could be known mononymously. Like, I'm not Zendaya. I'm not Plenty. Like, I just have a regular name. I'm just Aaron. Like, I can't be named I can't be known mononymously. Like, that's kind of unfair. I want to be known I can't even say the word mononymously. Yeah. But so yeah, I guess it's a project, not really a band, or I guess it's just a guy. Anyways, all that to say, not just him, but him and his whole entire band, went first. And honestly, so I would listen to the Animals as Leaders radio on Spotify, and Plenty. Honestly, I have to like really be in the mood for, because otherwise, along with them and Sean. Which Sean I would skip a lot more, but Plenty sometimes gotta skip for me. But I don't know. I think it's very slept on. In my head. For me, I'm sleeping on it. I'm the one who's sleeping on it. Other people are probably not sleeping on it, but I'm the doo-doo head in the situation that is sleeping on Plenty. And honestly, I don't know why I did that. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. And honestly, in some of the songs, his guitar sort of sounded like a saxophone. It was kind of crazy. I don't think I caught it on video, but there were a few parts in some songs where I was like, man, why does this guitar sound like a saxophone? And I guess that's definitely very jazz fusion-y. And yeah, it was great. Love Plenty. After their set, of course, was the main event, Animals as Leaders, playing The Joy of Motion in full, in order as well. I'm looking at you, Sleeping with Sirens. Like, playing... I can't get over this. Them not playing Let's Cheers to This in order, crazy. And, like, I get it. Track 2 on that album was, like, that's their big song. But, like, why would you play it out of order? That got me. Like, of all of the album in full tours that I've seen, which apparently at this point has been quite a bit, like, to not play the album in order, clapped. Like, I chopped. It's not good. Like, that honestly, I don't want to say it ruined the experience, but it didn't make it better. It did not make it better. It sure didn't. Like, anyway, we're not talking about Sleeping with Sirens. They played the album in full, in order, which again, I appreciate. And some of the songs, or I guess it's just the one song that they said, and I can't even remember which one it was, that they haven't ever really played in a tour before this tour. And I mean, what can I say? The album is great. Not my favorite. We've already been over this. Not the Waitlist. Waitlist is my favorite. And, they don't really perform any of those songs anymore, from what I could tell, which I think I've said this before when I was talking about the album when I got the vinyl of it. But from what I could tell, they haven't played anything from it for almost 10 years. So I don't know if we're ever going to get an album in full of that. Probably not. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I really don't. But, something that was really interesting that nobody asked during the Q&A, which I thought was kind of crazy. Nobody asked if there's new music on the way. I kind of did want to know if that was the case, which, to be fair, Parisia came out not that long ago, and the distance between The Madness of Minnie and Parisia was, like, quite a few years, so it's probably going to be a little while before a new Animals as Leaders record comes out, which honestly, whatever, take your time. Take as much time as you need. I'll be here. I will be here waiting for it, and I will be streaming. I will be seated in the theater of Spotify when it does come out. So, I'm not too insistent about that kind of thing, but I was surprised nobody asked that during the Q&A. However, something interesting that I learned during the Q&A that I didn't know this before is that Tosin was saying that he went to music school in Atlanta. I forgot which one it was. I think it's literally like the Atlanta School of Music or something like that. I don't know which one it is. But he was saying, because someone had asked them, like, because I think they do a lot of, I don't know what you would call it, seminars, classes on music and things of that nature. And someone had asked if there was, a school that had rejected them that was now like, hey, come do a lecture at our school about music. And something that Tosin had said was that whatever the friggin' school is called, I forgot, in Atlanta that he went to, that, his professors had kind of playfully chided him about, playing extended range guitars, which I suppose that wasn't really a thing back in, like, I don't know when he went to school. I don't know how old he is. He's probably in his 30s. So 2000s, something like that. Probably wasn't that ubiquitous in the 2000s. I feel like, everyone and their mom now plays a 7-string, which honestly, cool, amazing, great. I love that. And so, something that I think it was his professors would say to him was like, oh, how many strings you got on your guitar today? But something that he said is that now at this school that he went to, they have curriculum on extended range guitars. Maybe not necessarily because of him, but, after one of your alumni goes on to be quite famous and for, playing extended range guitars in this way, it's like, oh yeah, let's include that in the curriculum. So I thought that was cool. Also, something that I didn't know is that the Berklee College, or the Berklee School of Music, the one that's in Boston, not like Berkeley, the other one, the one with the Y. This is the one with 2 E's. The music school in Boston has, and I don't know how official this is, on what level, but they have an Animals as Leaders ensemble at the Berklee School of Music in Boston, which I thought that was so cool. To be so influential that, and again, I don't know if this is like a student project or if this is something that the school set up or what. I don't really know how that would work. I didn't go to school for music. I didn't go to a music school. So I don't really even know what that means. I did try to look it up. There were a couple of videos, but nothing that I could really go off of. But there's an Animals as Leaders ensemble at this music school that I think is kind of prestigious. I don't know. It's not oh gosh, what's the one really prestigious music school? I don't even know. What is the name of it? You know what? That doesn't matter. It's not that school, but I think it is still pretty prestigious as a music school. Am I thinking of Juilliard? Yes. Juilliard, which I think that's more for classical type of music, like quartets and orchestras and operas and things of that nature. Yeah, as someone who is so plugged into the music world and such a music enjoyer, to not really know any of this terminology is crazy, on my part. Anyways, back to the actual show itself. They played the album in full. It was great. Had a great time. It was a lot of fun. Because I was VIP, I did get to go to the front, so I was at the barrier, and I basically, because I was standing pretty much directly in front of Tosin the entire time, I have a bunch of Tosin Abasi fan cams on my phone now, so that's fun. Yeah, definitely love that I got a 128 gigabyte micro SD card for my phone, because I have a lot of videos now from that show. So yeah, and I know people are like, oh, why are you recording the show on your phone? You're never going to see these videos. I don't know why this person that I'm making up is French, but they're annoying. Not saying that French people are annoying, but maybe they are. I've never met a French. Have I never? Yes, I suppose I have never met a French person before. So I don't know, I can't even say if they're annoying, but I do go back and watch these videos. I do go back and watch concert videos, okay? That's why I had to buy another SD card for my phone specifically for the purpose of concert videos because I do go back and watch them and I don't want to delete them to save space. I'm not doing it because I do like to go back and watch them and remember because they make me happy. So yes. Anyways, I made up a guy and I got mad at him. Like, that's literally what just happened just there. But very good purchase for me, very timely purchase that I made. So yeah, they didn't play, let me see. They played, they had an encore. I think it was about 5 songs. And they played some stuff from the Madness of Minnie. They played what was it? They played some stuff from Parisia. They didn't play KFO, and of course they didn't play anything from Waitlist because why would they? Or self-titled for that matter. So it's us Waitlist heads are forever unfed. What can I say? What a crazy thing to say. Okay, and so another thing that I want to say, which this isn't going to earn me brownie points with anybody, but I also kind of don't care. So, I had the VIP. So I was at the front. I was at the barrier. I was pretty much able to keep my spot all night, thankfully. Thanks to the people who were standing next to me who, ensured me that if I went to the PP Palace that they would keep my spot, and lo and behold, they did. But there were a couple kids standing next to me. And, this is heavily dependent on the show. Because, I've talked, this is on my old podcast, but I've talked about, seeing kids at shows before. Because at the August Burns Red show that I was at, last year? Whenever their 20th anniversary tour was, that couldn't have been 2 years ago. It had to be last year. There was, a toddler that was there. But, of course, this is a bigger venue. There's a lot more space to, not be in the mix. So that's, whatever. And honestly, most of the time when I do see kids at shows, it is kind of a, whatever thing. I did see a post on the metalcore subreddit that someone had brought their infant to, I want to say the architect show. Or an architect show. I can't remember exactly. But it was a place, an arm baby infant is kind of a lot. A toddler honestly still is kind of a lot. But an arm baby, that's wild. Of course, I wasn't there to see it. It could have been apocryphal. It could have been hearsay. Which I don't even think I used the word apocryphal right, but whatever. It could have been untrue. But also, I think there are other people there who saw it. So maybe it wasn't. I didn't see any pictures, though. Or video. So maybe it didn't happen. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's not outside of the realm of possibility, But anyways, I was standing next to a couple of kids. One of the kids was fine, honestly. They were quiet, well-behaved, decent kid. I honestly didn't even really care that they were there. Whatever. Let the kid come up to the front. I am less than a foot taller than this kid, so, I get it. I get the plight. And also, I'm pretty sure they were there at the VIP, so, you're entitled to be there as a card-carrying VIP member. Sure, come on up to the barrier, young feller me lad. So that I didn't care about, but it was a little bit into Plenty set that this lady walks up with her kid, and she's like, "Oh, look, there's another kid. Go up to him." And these two children did not know each other. Let me say. I don't think they knew each other anyways. I'm pretty sure they didn't know each other. And so this lady's pushing this kid up to the front, and it's okay, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not about to give up my spot at the barrier for a kid. I don't know how that makes me sound. And to be fair, they weren't asking me to move, so it's this isn't even a scenario that's happening, but I'm not giving up my spot at the barrier for a child. I kind of don't care. I really don't. I honestly paid for VIP so that I could get to the barrier in this scenario. So it's I'm not giving up my spot. It's not happening. I'm not doing it. I don't care. I don't care. Just straight up, I don't care. And it would be one thing if this kid was nice and well behaved and not complaining the whole time. But the kid was bumping into me and just kind of constantly, and also being I don't want to stand up for 2 hours. I want to go with Aunt Linda. And I honestly was about to turn around to this kid's mom, presumably, and be hey, I think you need to let them go be with Aunt Linda. They clearly want to be there more than they want to be right here in this spot. So it's like, that was mad annoying. I'm not going to lie. Momentarily, because I think eventually that kid did go be with Aunt Linda. And, and I was like, more engrossed in the show. So I kind of didn't care. But I was, I don't mind standing next to kids if they're well behaved. If they're complaining and like knocking into me constantly, then like I'm annoyed. But, I didn't say anything because like it didn't really get to that point. But I'm glad that kid went to go be with Aunt Linda because if they. Kids annoy me. I'm just going to put that out there. Children annoy me. And I can only deal with them in small doses. And, that's just, it is what it is, So. I don't know. I'm glad that kid got to go be with Aunt Linda because if he didn't, then I was gonna say something to his mom. Oh my goodness. Speaking of complaining, in that same vein, because I think I'm done talking about the show. It was a fun show. Loved it. Highlight of my year so far. Well, I mean, it is December. I don't think there's really anything that's going to happen in December that's going to improve upon that. But this is definitely the highlight of my year. So, I'm at this hotel and, I get back to my hotel room. It's about 11 o'clock at night and it is just so loud in the hallway. Like, and again, this is probably not going to win me any brownie points either, but also like spare a thought for me at this moment. It's 11 o'clock at night. I think what happened is that there was some kind of like dance competition or something that might have been in town. I think it was a dance. It was a competition of some sort. And from the context clues that I got from the people that were on the elevator with me, there might have been a dance competition. People were holding trophies and they were talking about dances and how they thought, certain people should have won for certain dances or something like that. I don't know. I didn't ask because it's not my business, And so when I first arrived at my hotel, I believe it was at the same time that this group of, I'm going to say they're young adults because some of them were clearly drunk. So I'm hoping that they were over the age of 21. So yes, young adults that had checked in at the same time that I did to this particular hotel. And I think because of that, we all ended up being on the same floor. So I think it was just this entire troop, and there were a lot of them. There were so many of them. So many of these young adults. This entire troop, and then there was me on this one floor in this hotel. And so I get back. So I had heard them being loud like the first night, but I guess it kind of quieted down by the time I like fell asleep because I didn't really hear them. But this next night, it's 11 o'clock. It's very nearly midnight. And I have an early morning flight the next morning. It's at 8 a.m. And given that Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport is the busiest in the country, I'm like, I need to be prepared. I need to be prepared and I need to get to the airport early. So I knew I was only going to have a precious few hours of sleep anyway. So I get to my room and I can hear everyone in the hallway. They're all inside their rooms, but I can hear them in the hallway. And so I get to my room and I'm like, okay, I can still hear them, but I don't know, they might quiet down like they did last night. And so, I get in bed, I get in my jammies, I get underneath the covers, and I can still hear them. And I'm like, okay, I really am trying to go to sleep. They're not quieting down. And so I hate to say it, but the boomer jumped out. I called downstairs. At first, nobody answered. I guess there was nobody at the desk. But eventually, I called again. At first, I thought my phone wasn't working because it kept ringing and then it would hang up. So I guess they didn't have an answering machine at the desk or whatever. So I call again because I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I'm like, hey, I'm on such and such floor. I really hate to do this, but it's so late and they're like so loud. And the lady I was talking to, I was like, I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm going to send security up. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. Click. And, I wait a little bit and I don't really hear anything, but eventually they all quiet down. And that was that. I fell asleep and woke up 3 hours later for my flight. So I guess in the end, it all ended up being okay. So, yay. But, yeah, that was my my hotel experience. And I will say, that hotel I was at, they had pretty good breakfast. You know, it was a regular, but it was an elevated buffet breakfast for a hotel. It was hitting though. It was kind of slamming. I'm not gonna lie, I did like it a lot. And so let's see. The next day, you know, after I got my precious 3 hours of sleep, I called my Lyft to come take me to the airport. You know, very early in the morning, kind of bleary eyed, but I'm like, okay, I gotta just, you know, I gotta hang in there because I gotta get home. And so, I guess when you order a Lyft, they are like, you know, they say your name before you get in the car, and you're like, yes, that's me. And so I didn't, you know, on Lyft, if you've never used Lyft before, I don't know how similar it is to Uber, but I've pretty much always only like used Lyft. It's they'll have a picture of your driver, and then the make and model of the car, and then a picture of the car, and then of course the license plate on the car. And so this guy didn't say anything, so I was like, okay, I mean, I can see your face. That's you. I can see the make and model of the car. That's you. I can look at the license plate. That's your license plate. So I'm like, okay. And I gave him my suitcase. He put it in the back, and I got in the back of his car and closed the door. And he was like, oh, sorry, Aaron, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, sorry about that. I could have kidnapped you. And I'm like, what did you just say? I don't say anything. Because at first I'm like, huh? Huh? But I know what I heard, okay? I know what I heard. He said, could have kidnapped you. And then he didn't turn to look at me in the back seat, but he, gave me a little side eye to see if I was paying attention. I was like, why did bro just say that? Why did you just say that? Huh? Why did you just say that? But I'm like, you know what? Just take me to the airport. I can't deal with this. It's too early in the morning. I'm in an unfamiliar place. I just need to get to the airport. Just take me to the airport. I'm not saying anything. Just take me to the friggin' airport. Ugh, why do I have to deal with this, you know? And so eventually he makes a little bit of small talk with me, asks me where I'm from. I tell him I'm from Alabama because, I mean, technically true. That's not where I'm going to. That is where I'm from. Thankfully, he doesn't try to make much small talk with me. I really don't like small talking with my Lyft drivers. You don't need my whole backstory. Just take me where I'm going. I know this makes me sound, however, but I really don't like talking to my Lyft drivers. I don't. Just take me to my destination. Get me there Get me there safely, drop me off. I'll give you 5 stars and a tip, and you can be on your merry way. I don't have to give you my backstory for you to do that. And thankfully he didn't really do that all that much, especially considering, you know, he said that he could have kidnapped me earlier, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you, actually. Just take me to the friggin' airport. I'm at the Southwest Terminal, take me to the Southwest Terminal, give me my bag, let me go, okay? And so eventually we get to the airport, and, you know, he pulls up to the Southwest Terminal, and I'm like, cool, let me get out of here. And I try to open the door, and I pull the handle, and, the door, usually, you know, when you pull the handle on, a car door, it kind of, pops open, but I'm pulling the handle, and it's not popping open, and I'm like, does this guy have, a child lock on here? What's going on? Did he not unlock the door? Unlock the door, please. I don't say anything because it's really early in the morning, 3 precious hours of sleep, and I'm not even processing that the door is not opening. And you know, he gets out. Obviously, probably not the best place to kidnap me because hello, we're at the terminal. There's so many people around at the world's busiest airport. Which I don't know if that's the world or just the United States. One of the busiest airports is to be at. And so, you know, I'm still trying the door. He's getting my suitcase out of his back, and he's like, you got to push it open. And I'm like, okay, this guy has a kind of a janky car where I got to push the door open after I do the handle. So I'm like, okay. And it comes open, no child lock or anything like that. Again, he just has a janky freaking door handle. And he's like, there you go, thinking I'm going to run off with you again. And I'm like, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? And if I didn't make this, you know, clear before, this is a male. This is a guy who is saying this to me, a girl, traveling by myself. And it's like, why would you say this? This isn't funny. This isn't a joke, you know? Why would you say that? What is wrong with you? Huh? You know? And it's This is unfortunately not the worst Lyft experience that I have to deal with. I can't remember if I talked about this on the podcast, but after I came back from New Orleans to see Sleeping with Sirens, I took the train there and I took it back, got a Lyft from the train station, and this guy, I feel like I did talk about this. I can't remember. I remember telling people about this. I just don't know if I talked about it on the pod, but if not, I'll do it again. He's like going 60 on like in the city of Jackson, like not on the interstate where it would be acceptable to go 60 miles an hour, but in these, and by the way, this is Jackson we're talking about, so the roads are like jacked up, and I'm like, why are you driving so fast? And he comes up on this particular stretch of road that I drive up and down pretty much like every day. And I know that on the northbound side of the stretch of road, there is a big dip where you have to be really careful. It's not a pothole. It's not like a crater or anything. It's just a place where the road dips. We're on this Yazoo clay. It's not really great for building things on because it shifts a lot. Big dip in the road. And I look over my Lyft driver's shoulder and I can see that he's driving 60 miles an hour and we're about to hit this dip full force. So I have to brace myself on the door, and sure enough, he hits the dip full force, and it feels like I thought the car was like gonna flip over. Like for real. Like he hit it going 60 miles an hour, and I'm on the passenger side of this car, so I feel it. I feel it dip, and I'm like, bro, why did you do that? And he's like, oh, sorry about that. And so eventually, I'm like, you know what? Again, I'm not gonna say anything. Just take me to my destination, which unfortunately my destination was my house. So it's like, okay, not great, but just take me to my destination. I don't even want to talk about it. Just get me to my home safe and in one piece, please. And so I get inside, I wait till he drives off, and I give him 2 stars and no tip because what the heck? Unfortunately, in this situation, I gave the kidnapper Lyft driver at the airport 4 stars and a small tip. I don't even know why I tipped him. To be completely honest, you should have got no tip for that. I'll give you a tip. I'll give you a tip right now. Don't joke about kidnapping your passengers. It's not funny, and it's not funny, just like straight up. If you're trying to practice your tight 5 to your captive audience, maybe leave kidnapping out of it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I shall say about the situation. Yeah, none of this is really going to deter me from continuing to travel as a single female. Like, if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to go somewhere. And it's like, was I, during that Lyft ride, thinking like, okay, if it came down to it, could I beat this guy up? Like, yes, I was thinking that. But, thankfully, I didn't have to put that to the test. Unfortunately, because I was traveling via plane, I didn't have... Can I show this on YouTube? I don't even think I could show this on YouTube. I didn't have my mace. Actually, I don't care. This is my mace that I have. It's very small, very compact. I've never had to use it, thankfully. But you are not allowed to bring personal protective apparatuses such as those onto airplanes. So I did not have it with me. I wish I did. Not that I was going to mace the guy, but, just in case, perhaps I had to use it, then I would have, or not would have, that I would have been able to, so it's like, male audacity is just at an all-time high, I think. And something that I wish I had was the audacity of a guy, just like unearned confidence to just do whatever. Like, I could get so far in this life if I had the unearned audacity of like a cis straight guy, a cis straight white guy. Like, if I had that in my heart, I would be unstoppable. I would be able to do anything. But no, I've been socialized this way that makes me deferential to everybody, that makes me not speak up when my Lyft driver talks about kidnapping me under his breath. So it's like, yeah, it's hard out here. Hate to say it. Yep. That was my Atlanta trip. I had so much fun, you guys. Like, whoa. Like, so many great memories to be had in Atlanta. I will say, though, And this isn't because of what happened while I was there. But I think the next time I go to Atlanta, I probably want to have someone with me because I didn't really get to explore the city like I maybe would have wanted to. I didn't really do a whole lot in the city aside from go to those two shows. And I went to like one place to get some food, but I want the full Atlanta experience. So if I were to return to the ATL, Hotlanta, I might want, I guess, I don't know, a tour guide. Be a weird way to put it, but I guess a tour guide. So yeah, that was my Atlanta trip. And I've been going for a little bit now, I think. Oh yeah, I have. I guess I could touch on this a little bit. It was Thanksgiving. That's pretty much it. Nothing really happened during Thanksgiving of any kind of remark. I drove home 3 hours. Oof, hard drive. I'm not gonna lie, I hate driving to Selma. It's just so long of a drive. And it's just like, I'm always taken out from it. And weirdly, this is somewhat depressing, but it feels like every time I go home, it feels less and less like my home and more like my grandparents' home, if that makes sense. If that's the correct vibe. Because, now it really is a place that I go, like, once or twice a year. No, more than twice a year. 3 or 4 times a year, so it is getting my grandparents' house vibe, a place that is very familiar to me, but that I don't visit very often. But I guess that's just part of growing up, that's life. That's what Frank Sinatra said, something like that, I think. So yeah, went home, had food, ate that food, forgot my containers, so I didn't get any friggin' leftovers, which I was kind of mad about, I'm not gonna lie, because I really would have liked some leftovers, especially now. So there's like no food in my fridge. I cooked today, but that's like the only food that's in my fridge. So would have been nice to get some leftovers. Didn't get any. Oh well. Nothing wacky happened, especially compared to last year. So yeah, everything was very normal. I will say I did get recognized while I was at the gas station, which is like my personal nightmare because, there's this guy. I was picking up a pizza for my nephew, right, that my mom had ordered, and this guy kind of like did a double take at me, and he's like, "What's your name?" And I told him, my name, and he's like, "Don't you remember me? We went to school together." Obviously, he didn't say it like that. And I straight up didn't remember him. I didn't recognize him. His name rang 0 bells. I had legit no clue who this guy was, but he knew who I was. And I was like, "Buddy, I don't know you." And it was the worst interaction of my life, probably. Like, it was just bad. It was bad. Because, like, I still am trying my best to remember who this guy was, but like I straight up don't remember him. I don't even know if he was in my grade. Was he in the grade above me? Was he in the grade below me? Like, I straight up did not remember this guy. And listen, I haven't seen most of the people that I went to high school with for, let's see, I graduated in 2017. Since May of 2017, my graduation night was the last time that I saw a lot of the people that I grew up with. So like, it's like all of those people have been overwritten in my head by the people who are currently in my life now. So it's like, or, the people that I knew in college. So it's like, this is crazy. Am I cooked? Like, is my brain just like fried? Like, it hasn't even been realistically that long ago that I've been in high school. Like, why can't I remember this guy? And I don't know, maybe he was mistaken. Maybe we didn't go to school together. I don't know. But this guy was convinced that he knew me, and I am convinced that I do not. But God, yeah, that's a rough experience. It's a rough experience. Like, and it's weird because I've been recognized by people that I went to college with here in Jackson, but like I remember them because it wasn't that long ago. And I haven't, I don't really have any bad memories from that time in my life to purge. So it's like, anyways, that's the going home experience for me. Nothing remarkable happened at Thanksgiving, and that's honestly what I wanted. That's what I wanted to happen, is nothing remarkable. I will say, though, I don't know if, like, I'm just old and just, like, now all of a sudden I'm fragile. But I went home, and usually I like going home and sleeping in my old bedroom because my childhood bed is bigger than the one I currently sleep in now, because I thought it would be a good idea at my big age of, well, I was like 21 when I bought it, at my big age at the time, to buy a twin-sized bed. It was not a good idea, by the way. The mattress is nice, but the bed is so small. Like, what am I doing? And it's probably gonna be a really long time before I can afford, like, another mattress, so I'm just doomed, I guess. Anyways, usually I like going home and sleeping in my old bed because it's bigger and I can, like, sprawl out, which is something that I really like doing when I sleep, but I can't really do it because I sleep in a twin-size bed because I'm an idiot that bought a twin-size bed as an adult. Anyways, I don't know if I'm just, like, more fragile these days, but I slept in my old bed and my back was wrecked. My lower back hurt so much. And it was honestly hurting up until yesterday. And I came back Friday. Friday. It was still hurting like yesterday, which was Saturday. And I was like, how the heck did I sleep on this thing? Like, it feels like a slab of concrete. Just like this brick of concrete that's been put up on this bed frame that I'm forced to sleep on now. Like, what is going on? And I don't know, maybe I have changed, but I could not wait to get back here to sleep in my own bed, my own very small bed, because my back was just wrecked. However, I did remember, sometimes, even when I was in high school, I would just wake up and my back would just like hurt. Like I would breathe in and I'd feel back pain and I'm like, we're starting the day. So I don't think my old mattress was ever good. I think I just got used to the constant back pain. And now that I have been sleeping on a mattress that's like actually nice, I go back to the Back Destroyer 9000 and I'm like, oh, this is bad. So yeah. Well, anyways, I've been yapping for a while and I have to go to work tomorrow and I'm taking it very personally. So just give me a minute. Okay. This has been the 36th, hopefully 30. I mean, I can actually check now. Let me see. Nope, wrong one. Where is it? Oh, never mind. I can't check. I'm assuming this is the 36th episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. I have been your host, Aaron. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth. And now I've got a poster that I need to hang up. Yay. Oh man, this is really show and tell, isn't it? Oh, I have to wipe that off. Or maybe this is on the poster. I don't know. It's got a little schmutz on it. Maybe I do need to wipe it off. Anyways, I have to go.